Welcome to the Board of Commissioners meeting, June 15th, 2023 at 7 p.m. Ms. Jones, could you call the roll, please?
Commissioner Johnson?
Present.
Commissioner Hall?
Present.
Commissioner Street?
Present.
Vice Mayor Butler?
Present.
Mayor Anderson?
Present. Item number 3, prayer and pledge, if everyone would stand. Vice Mayor Butler.
Lord, we're meeting today to cook matters of business. Guide our hearts and our minds in the spirit of fairness, right thought, and speech. Impart your supreme wisdom upon our activities so that our affairs may reach a successful conclusion. Thank you for being our source of guidance today. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Before we get started tonight, I would like to just let everyone know that we're just going to do a little housekeeping. We always want to keep our community and the Board of Commissioners safe, so we have implemented a metal detector at the front door. We will have 2 officers. This is a business meeting, so we would like everyone to be courteous and respectful. So if anyone is not, we will have an officer escort the person out. We just want everyone to feel safe in our meetings. Also, no one will be allowed to come past the podium, and if you need to give the board some type of paper or document, please hand it to one of the officers and they will bring it to us. Thank you. Item number 4, approval of the agenda.
Move for approval.
Second.
Ms. Jones?
Commissioner Johnson?
Aye.
Commissioner Hall?
Aye.
Commissioner Street?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Butler?
Aye.
And Mayor Anderson?
Aye. Item 4 passes 5-0. Item number 5, citizens' comments.
Yes, ma'am, we do have one tonight, and I apologize, I can't read your writing, but it's the gentleman that lives at 7125 Ivory Way.
Welcome.
Tom McMenamin, sorry for my less than legible writing, and I live at 7125 Ivory Way. It is my understanding that there's going to be discussion tonight on a new development being developed, and I believe the developer already has developments that are not completed, which is the development I live in. It's been 18 months since the last house was sold, and we still don't have our finished development. The blacktop isn't finished. So I would like to see if we can have that addressed. Have to say.
Thank you. Item number 6, public announcements, awards, and recognition. City events.
Thank you, Mayor, Commissioners. We want to remind everyone that the July 3rd celebration is just a few weeks away. The gates open at 2 p.m. There will be food vendors, free activities for kids, live entertainment, and the fireworks show will begin at approximately 9 p.m. We are also taking applications for vendors for Nature Fest, which is Saturday, September 23rd. Anyone wanting to be a vendor, please contact Richard Ross at 615-387-6140. Thank you.
Thank you. Item 6B is proclamation for the Boys and Girls Club of Middle Tennessee.
Hi, everybody. My name is Miss Tammy. I'm the club director for the Fairview Boys and Girls Club here. We are celebrating our 15th year of being in this community, but June the 25th, I think, to July the 2nd is Boys and Girls Club Week. And we would like to have a proclamation from the city celebrating our Boys and Girls Club Week.
Absolutely. And Vice Mayor Butler is going to read that proclamation.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, Mayor. City of Fairview proclamation. Whereas the young people of Fairview, Tennessee are tomorrow's leaders, and whereas many young people need professional youth services to help them achieve their full potential, and whereas there are 12 boys and girls clubs in Fairview, Tennessee, including Franklin and Nashville, that serve more than 7,500 young people annually, and whereas Boys and Girls Clubs do whatever it takes to ensure every young person in America has the skills needed to graduate high school and be well prepared for life and work through programs like Key Workforce Readiness programs, industry clubs, Money Matters, Code Academy, clubs help youth development to soft skills and hard skills needed to close the job skills gap. Whereas Boys and Girls Club Fairview will celebrate National Boys and Girls Club Week with some 5,000 clubs and more than 4 million children and teens served nationwide. Now therefore, myself and Mayor Lisa Anderson of Fairview, Tennessee, do hereby proclaim June 26th through 30th, 2023 as National Boys and Girls Club Week in Fairview, Tennessee. Furthermore, I encourage all citizens to join me in recognizing and commending Boys and Girls Clubs in Middle Tennessee for doing whatever it takes to build great futures for youth in our communities.
Wonderful. Big round of applause. Thanks, guys.
Thank you so much for your service to our children. Next on the agenda is 6C, Triangle Historic Village presentation, Dr. Neil Rice.
Good evening. There are three things I would like to discuss with you this evening. First of all, I would like to give you some information of a historical nature concerning the Fairview Historical Association. Secondly, I would like to discuss some accomplishments that we have had since our founding in 2007. And thirdly, we'd like to discuss some current needs and future plans. The earliest conversations in Fairview concerning historical preservation were very informal. The first discussion consisted of a long-distance telephone conversation from West Virginia, 600 miles away, and Nashville, between Darrell Mangrum and me. At first, in 2007, our efforts received various degrees of support from our city commissioners. This support ranged from, and I quote, "I ain't against no historic preservation as long as it don't cost no money," to, when an individual donated $12,500 toward the restoration of Jingo Post Office, and once again, a quote, "At least he could have given it to something that matters," to, let me again offer a quote, "I recommend that the city provide a one-time grant of $25,000 to see what this group is able to do." The first action of the Board of Commissioners was the formation of the Fairview Historical Preservation Committee. We met monthly at City Hall. In order to qualify as a tax-exempt group for purposes of fundraising, the historical group separated from city government and formed the Historical Association. As a tax-exempt 50C3 or 3C organization, we met monthly at the Recreation Center for several years. As restoration work advanced, we moved the location of our meetings to Triangle School. What has the Fairview Historical Association accomplished since 2007? Number one, the restoration of Triangle School. It was sitting on the ground on two sides, literally, when we started. Number two, the relocation and restoration of Jingo Post Office and the Boone Street Clinic. Three, we obtained the donation of a log cabin and provided $8,500 toward deconstruction and storage of the structure, as well as the building of the required foundation. This was done with a building permit from the city, and the foundation was approved by the building inspector at the time, Mr. Wayne Hall. However, for reasons that were never explained in any way, the former city manager, without authority or without any explanation to anyone, had the foundation completely destroyed. Therefore, the Fairview Historical Association would request that our organization be reimbursed in the amount of $8,500 because of this act of unwarranted vandalism. All of our funds have been donated funds, including many from small gifts from individuals who would be very disappointed if they knew that their funds were misused in that manner. On the other hand, if the Board of Commissioners does not wish to provide reimbursement, it is requested that the city provide the required funds to erect and restore the log structure. I am aware that at least 3 commissioners have expressed an interest in seeing that this project is completed by providing the required funds. That is encouraging. What else has the Fairview Historical Association accomplished? To date, we have raised $166,527.14. Once again, $166,527.14. This has come from government and corporate grants, as well as individual donations and 2 public auctions. This amount is in addition to funds that have been provided by the city, which owns the property. What else have we accomplished? The Triangle School was placed upon the National Register of Historic Places. Neither the post office nor the clinic qualify for this placement because they are not currently sitting upon their original location. However, movement and restoration of those structures saved them from complete destruction. What else? We have received recognition both at the county and state level as we received Best in County Award from the Williamson County Historical Foundation for our work in restoring the Jingo Post Office. Director McIntyre, who heads the Tennessee Historical Commission, presented the award to the Fairview Historical Association during a meeting of the Fairview Board of Commissioners. I know at least 3 of you commissioners were present at that time. What else have we accomplished? Currently, efforts are being made to place the acreage, which encompasses the historical village, under a protective easement, which would secure similar provisions that are present or concern Bowie Park. It is interesting to note that the 3 Bowie sisters and brother lived in Triangle School for several years and ultimately gave the property to the city upon their death. What are some current needs and future plans? One is the replacement of some siding boards on both Triangle School and Jingo Post Office. Second, the painting of all 3 structures. Third, a complete list of needed maintenance items, some of which seem minor, like a window seal replacement or replacement of 3 panes of glass, will be provided to Mr. Paisley and Mr. Daugherty by this time next week. 4, community interest is increasing concerning the historical village. For example, there is interest among groups as they plan their high school reunions. Likewise, the Fairview Community Theater desires to utilize Triangle School both for practice and for presentation of plays. It is with much interest that I noticed that on the agenda tonight, there will be a discussion of usage of the historical village facilities by various community groups. Ultimately, I'm sure that will result in a usage, understanding, or contract of some sort. It was my attempt, and I made it many times and was promised that it would be done, but it wasn't by the previous administration. This is important. A major issue regarding usage of those buildings is inadequate parking. I would like to request that the parking areas, as proposed in the original site development plan, be graded and gravelled immediately. That would be cost possible, if that's correct grammar. As the base settles and as funds become available, the parking areas could be, the gravelled areas could be covered with concrete. Future plans in part include the following: the erection and restoration of the log structure that I mentioned to you earlier, completion of a farmer's market amphitheater facility, construction of a covered picnic shelter behind the clinic, development of a regional bluegrass festival at the historic village. Our location is perfect for that. Development of a major monthly flea market in the historical village. Spring to fall is a major fundraiser. It's a sure winner. Also, rental space provided for local yard sales. Again, money maker. I am through. Are there questions or requests for clarification concerning anything that I have said?
Board members, do we have any questions?
Do you have an order of what is most important?
Yes, that will be presented to Mr. Daugherty and to Mr. Paisley by this time next week.
Okay.
It's prepared now, but I'm having computer problems and printing problems at home.
Anyone
Thank you
else?
very much for your kind attention.
Dr. Rice?
And yes, ma'am, and support. Where are you?
Dr. Rice,
Yes, indeed.
see if I can get through this. As my dear friend, stay right where you are.
I am.
As my dear friend and cohort in the restoration, the clean out, the fun, exciting way we moved the Boone Street Clinic to the property.
Yeah, midnight.
I just want to say that you are very modest. You do not disclose how much money, time, effort, blood, sweat, and tears that you've put into this project so that our city can know its history and the Bowie sisters can be honored for a lifetime. It is going to be exciting for us to have that easement put around our property so that never again can it be changed from historic, and it will be always for the community to know the history of Fairview. It was your vision and your hard work and dedication to make this happen. And with that, we would like to present you with the key to the city. You're not aware, but your whole family is here.
Well, I want to embarrass you, Lisa. You told me to dress up. How'd I do?
You did well. And
Don't I have beautiful grandchildren?
you have beautiful grandchildren. And Janet and Craig Cropper, Dr. Rice and myself are the original members of the Historic
Absolutely.
Association, so they came to honor you as well. I'd like to read this. It says, the key to the city of Fairview, presented to Dr. Neil Rice for your dedication to the restoration and financial contribution to the Triangle Historical Village. And I'd love to get a few pictures with the board and with your family.
Now, can I embarrass somebody?
Sure.
I don't know if she's watching at home or not, but my mother went to school there.
Let me embarrass you too. I went to school there too.
Item number 7, staff comments and monthly reports. A, police report.
Good evening. I'm Detective Keith Reed. Chief Humphreys wasn't able to be for this evening. He asked me to give the report.
Thank you.
So for staffing, we're still down 2. We're supposed to be at 26, so we still have the 2 openings. Overtime was up 17.5, and we had 188 more hours of training hours. That consisted of the firing range, basic in-service, basic police school, clandestine lab certifications. Essentially what that is it helps us be better prepared to handle meth labs, fentanyl, certain types of marijuana derivatives. Then we had the simunition instructor. Simunition is a round that allows us to use weapon systems that are very similar to what we use on duty. So our pistols, our ARs. So when we do active shooter training, like you see in the pictures right there, it is a more realistic training environment. So we did active shooter training with Williamson County. You can see in those pictures. You can watch that video. Andy Cordan did the report on that. We also do Dixon in-service, where we do utilize those simunitions. Narcotics and gang investigations, and then Index, that is a database used by all police officers, but mostly CID. Next. Calls for service. We are down for the month of May, and April was at 1,017, and May was 877. Next. Oops. In May, we had 3 domestics. In April, we had 2. For DUI arrests, we're up to, we had a total of 8 between April and May. We had 32 drug charges, so we're up 9. We had a total of 55 drug arrests between April and May. And theft is up 4. Citations are down from April. Traffic accidents stayed about the same, with property damage being up. Injury is down to 1, and we had no fatalities. The 3rd July event will have the concessions tent as well as a silent auction, so anybody can come by and get in on that. We also are still taking applications, so if you know anyone that would like to be a police officer for the Fairview Police Department, you can go to that link there. Questions?
Thank you. 7B, fire report.
Mayor, Commissioners, good evening. For the month of May, our call volume, we had 101 calls for emergency calls during the month of May, which was up quite a bit from the previous year. The significant events for May, we had 10 overlapping incidents. Again, that's where one crew was out on a call and another call was dispatched before they returned in service. We had 3 incidents where a fire was extinguished, 1 building fire inside the city limits, 2 grass fires in the city limits. We had 1 mutual or automatic aid response to a surrounding jurisdiction for a house fire. Our average response time was 4 minutes and 45 seconds. That's from the time that we're dispatched to the time we're on scene. That's down from last month. And then time operating on scene was also down, but it was averaged at 15 minutes and 36 seconds. This is always on the report. To report an emergency, your first call should always be 911. We had another structure fire this weekend, and the call came into the station before they called 911. So it just slows us down. So if there's an emergency, call 911. That way the dispatcher can get us on the road and to the right location much quicker than you can tell us when we're answering a phone and at the watch office. May call breakdown, again, our medical calls are still running in the 75% range of all our calls. So 75% of our call volume is medically based. And then the rest of the breakdown is there. Fires were up to about 3%, which is a little high for us, but next slide. Heat map, again, it looks similar to it has all year. The hotter spots are in the center of the city where the higher volume of residents are, and then out by the interstate. Next slide. Fire prevention activities this month. The fire marshal attended a week-long residential sprinkler class at the Fire Academy. He's averaging about 10 occupancies inspected weekly. He's had to issue a few minor corrective action notices, but nothing, everyone has been compliant and taken care of any issues he's found. And then he completed plan reviews as they were submitted. We had 89 interactions at 4 events with outreach opportunities. Those are usually education events for youth of the city. And again, if any city residents need smoke alarms installed in their home, just call the station. You'll be sent to the fire marshal. He'll schedule a time for one of the crews to come out and install those for you. Next slide. This is our May training breakdown. We had 677 hours of training through the department. This is the pie chart that breaks down. As you can see, we completed our annual vehicle extrication in service. I want to thank M&J again for providing us his lot and several cars for us to set up scenarios with and use for our extrication training. We had one member attend an all-hazard strike team leader class, and we conducted our train the trainer on the new fire training tower and have completed acceptance on it. There are some pictures there of us training that day with the live fire. Any questions?
I'm really excited about the training tower that you've constructed, and I know that you were mentioning to me about the BOC. Could you speak about that, coming to check it
The
out?
training officer and the city safety officer, he's the same guy, Jake Warren, that comes up here and gives the reports when I'm not here. We're going to come up with a way to invite the Board of Commissioners to come down, suit up, and go in this training simulation and see just kind of what it's all about. So we're trying to figure out how all the logistics will work on that, but we're going to invite you guys to come down and have a firsthand knowledge of being in a fire.
That would be exciting, thank you.
We'll try to get that set up. Like I said, he's also the city safety officer, so he is, we got to make sure it's safe for everybody, and we won't put you in there if you don't want to be in there, but. Any other questions?
I'd just like to make a couple of statements, if you don't mind.
Yes, sir.
All of this training, the full staffing helps our ISO rating, which helps our insurance premium for the residents of the city. Also, as far as the police department, I'm tickled to death to see the active shooter training. And as a board, we're hoping that the increase in pay that we've hopefully approved tonight will help attract more officers for the police department. Hopefully y'all can get y'all staffing up to par. So that's my main thing, thanking y'all for your service that y'all do for us. Thanks again.
Thank you.
Thank you. Item number 8, consent agenda. A, minutes from June 21st, 2023, Board of Commissioners, regular meeting.
Second.
Yep. Ms. Jones?
Commissioner Johnson,
Aye.
Commissioner Hall,
Aye.
Commissioner Street,
Aye.
Vice Mayor Butler,
Aye.
Mayor Anderson.
Aye. Item 8 passes 5-0. Item 9, old business, we have none tonight. Item 10, new business. Vice Mayor Butler?
Item 10, new business A, ordinance 2023-09, an ordinance of the City of Fairview, Tennessee, adopting the annual budget and tax rate for the fiscal year beginning July 1, 2023, and ending June 30th, 2024. City Manager Tom Daughtry.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I sent out an email. I implemented the 15% COLA and also the additions in community development that the board requested Monday night, and we'll entertain any questions other than that. Thank you.
Any questions from the board?
Make a motion for approval.
I'll second.
Ms. Jones?
Commissioner Johnson,
Aye.
Commissioner Hall,
Aye.
Commissioner Street,
Aye.
Vice Mayor Butler,
Aye.
Mayor Anderson.
Aye. Item 10A passes 5-0. Item 10B, Vice Mayor Butler.
Item 10B, Resolution 35-23, a resolution of the City of Fairview, Tennessee Board of Commissioners authorizing the mayor to execute the annual interlocal agreement between Williamson County and the City of Fairview regarding periodic road work and maintenance to the municipal roads. City Manager Tom Daugherty.
Thank you, Vice Mayor Butler. This is just an interlocal agreement, and we've let it lapse some in the past, but it really helps the city out, especially when you've got sections of a road that's part county, part city. When the county is scheduling their paving projects, we can say, hey, go ahead and pave our part too, and then they just bill us, and we don't have to go through the bid process and all that. And it just keeps everything kind of unified and the road kind of in the same condition. And I think it's a real good partnership with the county. I think it's something I think we should do every year. Thank you.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Ms. Jones?
Commissioner Johnson?
Aye.
Commissioner Hall?
Aye.
Commissioner Street?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Butler?
Aye.
Mayor Anderson?
Aye. Item 10B passes 5-0. Item 10C, Vice Mayor Butler.
10C, Resolution 36-23, a resolution of the Board of Commissioners of the City of Fairview, Tennessee, authorizing the mayor to execute a utility station site easement to Piedmont Natural Gas Company. City Engineer Sarah Toddy.
Resolution 36-23 authorizes the mayor to execute a utility station site easement to Piedmont Natural Gas Company to install a regulator station on City of Fairview property. This is actually on the property that we just bought for the realignment of Northwest Highway at 96. This location will not conflict with the improvements ongoing for the City of Fairview's intersection project, and city staff recommends approval of the proposed location.
Move to approve.
Second.
Any questions?
I have one. Tom, how much did we pay for the property that this is going on?
$366,000 and some change.
And how much are we asking Piedmont to kick in for us giving them an easement? Sounds like it's a free easement.
I'm not, Sarah, do you have any answer on that?
There's a fair market value. They did it at $100,000, which I believe is what we paid for the property, is how we appraised that as well. And it's $1,760. It's included in the packet, the breakdown.
And that's just a one-time payment?
That's my understanding. Patrick, correct me if I'm wrong.
Special easement. It's included, considerations included in that out there for clause, Commissioner Johnson, the easement.
Mayor, are there any discussion of aesthetics or fencing or?
Yes, it has to be fenced, obviously. There's a similar one at not Boone Street, what's it, Taylor Road?
Taylor Road.
Taylor Road and Highway 100.
It's not the most.
There's some
attractive.
wording in it that there's gonna be some landscaping
Okay.
surrounding it, but it does have to have the chain link fence. That's part of the agreement. That's part of what they built, to protect their infrastructure.
Thank you.
Brandon, do you recall how much landscaping is at that location? I don't think there's any, is there?
There's no landscaping. That is not the most aesthetically pleasing spot. That's just why I ask if we're going to have road improvements there, a fire station on that site. What can we do to spruce it up? Is the only reason.
And
The
when
only
have they
thing-
told you they wanted to construct this? How soon are they wanting to get started?
Now, there has been a holdup. They were actually gonna start building when they thought that Mr. Toddy owned the property, but he does not. We just bought it. It just finalized, so now they're going through us. So that kind of held the process up. Where they initially had it was right in the center of the realignment of Northwest Highway, so they had to move it. And so now it is at the very corner of the property, as far away from the improvements as possible. and outside of the right-of-way, so no improvements are going to be in the way whatsoever. I don't know, you can make a condition to add.
Ms. Toddy, do they typically provide a site plan that, for
Yeah,
us to
there's-
approve?
Yeah, there's an exhibit.
To
and
the
they'll-
easement there is?
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
there's an exhibit in the packet.
And as far as Taylor Road, all they've done is cut the grass around it and the weeds. I've noticed that in the last day or two.
Right.
Well, this exhibit just shows,
Yeah, this doesn't have anything landscaped.
this is not a site plan, this is just an exhibit of where it's gonna be. Do they have to provide a site plan for the building they're gonna, I assume it's some sort of building they need to
It's
construct?
just like pipes out of the
Pipes.
ground, like, yeah.
But they stick up out of the ground.
Yeah.
They do, yeah.
My recommendation would be if there's any, does this affect, what's the public benefit, Ms. Toddy?
This is for all of the parcels in that area, all of the residents to get natural gas.
Is there an emergency that they
They need this
it?
regulator station for the pressure in the pipe.
But there's no emergency at the moment?
They have to put this in as soon as possible in this area within the next couple of months, is what they've said to me. That's
I
why
would,
they're
I would
putting this
consider
in.
deferring it for 1 month and allowing Ms. Toddy or Mr. Doherty to contact Piedmont and get a commitment on landscaping, if that's a concern.
I would like to go a step further and have a representative at our next meeting.
So the proper thing would be
I
to
would make
defer
that
and
a-
then give Mr. Doherty the marching orders.
I'll retract my second.
I'll retract my motion.
I'll make a motion to defer and have the city manager reach out to Piedmont and have a representative at our next meeting or the next meeting that they would be available to come to.
Second.
Any other discussion? Ms. Jones?
Commissioner Johnson,
Aye.
Vice Mayor Butler,
Aye.
Commissioner Hall,
Aye.
Commissioner Street,
Aye.
Mayor Anderson.
Aye. Item 10C, 5-0 for deferral. Item 10D, Vice Mayor Butler.
10D, Resolution 37-23, a resolution of the Board of Commissioners of the City of Fairview, Tennessee, authorizing the mayor to execute the site development agreement contract for Dothrow Dental. City Engineer Sarah Toddy.
This resolution is for Dothrow Dental, which is going in at the corner of Boone Street and Highway 100. We had our pre-construction meeting today. They're ready to get going. Development was approved by PC last year. They have all their required permits. They've completed all their conditions of approval and have submitted their bonds to the city. This development agreement allows the developer to begin work and to file for a grading permit. That's all I have.
Move for approval.
Second.
Any discussion? Ms. Jones?
Commissioner Johnson,
Aye.
Vice Mayor Butler,
Aye.
Commissioner Hall,
Aye.
Commissioner Street,
Aye.
Mayor Anderson.
Aye. Item 10D passes 5-0. Item 10E, Vice Mayor Butler.
Item 10E, discussion on permitted uses for the Triangle School. City Manager Tom Doherty.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I had an email, and it's in the packet, and I can't find it, but it was from a pastor of a small church that had been talking with previous administration about using Triangle School to meet on Sundays. And I told him I didn't feel like I didn't feel comfortable saying anything about that. I would need to talk to the Board of Commissioners, and I would need to talk to the Historical Society. I didn't feel comfortable, and he was fine with that. But there also, we've been doing tax preparation has been used out there by the YMCA, I think the last 3 years. I went ahead and let them do that this year. And I don't know, I need guidance on what we want to do out there, what we, and I don't want to, I think it's nice when, I know the Girl Scouts have used it when the other things have been their other places have been unavailable, but, I know there's a lot of things out there that we just don't want to walk off, and there's a lot of, we just don't want any, I just want some guidance on how we want that building to be utilized and what processes we want to go through to, or policies we want to judge that or allow things to happen. Thank you.
Dr. Rice, would you like to come forward so that we can discuss this? First of all, I would like to say that I think it's a great opportunity to be able to allow people to use the building. We do need to put in place some type of safeguard. There are close to $100,000 worth of antiques in that building. If it were to be for like, say the tax preparation, if we could keep that to the back classroom where, do you agree with me, where the bathroom and the kitchen is, and block off everything else?
Yes, that is one group that I questioned from the beginning, the wisdom of their being able to use it. I think it's intended more for community events such as reunions, plays, various get-togethers, perhaps a wedding. Yes, perhaps a wedding, perhaps bridal showers, things of that sort. I would question also whether it would be appropriate for a church to use it. It would create the situation of why did they get it and why can't we have it and that sort of thing. I think, perhaps I'm wrong.
I think the safety of the artifacts and also insurance, that's a lot of groups, they would have to make sure they provided insurance so that if anything were to happen on the site, that the city did not get sued.
I would think also, Lisa, that it would be appropriate to collect a small fee and that the fee be sufficient to cover janitorial services, clean up after the event, that sort of thing. That would not be unreasonable and would be typical of other facilities that would be available elsewhere.
Would it be appropriate to do some type of work session to bring the Historic Association along with the board and any of the interested parties together?
I think that's an excellent idea.
I think that's a good idea. I also think it might be something you may want to appoint a special commission, an ad hoc commission with members that, from these different groups to provide a recommendation, with suggested rules of use to this board to approve if it's a city-owned property. Because I think Dr. Rice is correct. Dr. Rice is correct. I want to make sure it was, is correct. I think the policy needs to be uniform, and if it's city-owned, you can't pick and choose between the types of weddings that you do. If you're going to offer weddings there, you can't pick and choose between churches. If you're going to release to churches, it needs to be done very uniform, and you should have policies and procedures, especially with the investment that the city has there. And so an ad hoc commission that you appoint members to might be thing to do, and/or a work session at least. To me, that would be the minimum of what you probably ought to do.
I agree.
But it would be good to have a document that results from that,
Yes, sir.
that can be adopted by the board. And I don't know who runs the property now. Is it the Parks Committee, or is there a committee that?
Keith Paisley is in charge, but there's not a lot of activity, but we do need some guidance on.
It sounds like the city has a real asset there, and so,
I do sincerely believe that once the issue of parking is dealt with, that there will be many, many more groups who want to use it.
And the property belongs to the city of Fairview.
That's right.
After the restoration of the buildings, we turned the buildings over to, as the Historical Association, to the city of Fairview for all kinds of reasons. The contents of every building belongs to the Historical Association and no one else. So we want to make sure that the contents are, secured.
is there an agreement between the city and the Historic Commission or Historical Society about the contents, about who they belong to? Are they on lease, or they're being borrowed, I guess, by the city?
I don't know that it's in writing, do you?
What I do know is that the former city manager had Mr. Paisley and me to conduct an audit of the contents that was provided to him. Let me try to be diplomatic. And like many of his projects, nothing ever happened. So it was a waste of time for both Keith and me, the time that we invested. And we don't even have the list, so we'll have to start from scratch to do that, which we will do. But there is an understanding that the city does not own the personal property, and that's not been an issue at all.
No, but there should be a use agreement that says who is responsible for those items while they're in the city's possession and who insures them.
That's right.
I think
If
we need
something goes
an
missing or is broken.
Right. I think we need an inventory, possibly a video. Video's good, videotaping, and an agreement. And as a part of this committee, I would think we could get that accomplished. Thank you.
It's a good idea.
I think, Mayor, you would need to decide how many members you want, and I wouldn't do this tonight, but need to be thinking about how many members that this ad hoc commission, the difference between a committee and a commission is, one is permanent, like the other committees we have, a commission is intended to have a defined purpose that will end at some point in the near future, but you need to decide how many members you want to appoint and and I think it would be the board's prerogative to fill those seats and then allow them to get together and appoint a person to speak for them and a secretary to take notes when they meet, and they could then report back to you with their recommendations. Sounds like Dr. Rice should be part of that committee for sure.
Any other discussion from the board? Ms. Jones? I'm sorry, I guess,
No.
we don't need a motion, okay. So we will just revisit this at a later date after we've determined how we're gonna.
I might
together.
I might suggest this be put on the next agenda for the next time you meet, so it doesn't get lost. And at that time, depending, Mayor, how you decide to go forward, whether it's a work session or whether it's a commission that you want to appoint members to that has a limited purpose, we could have that on the agenda at the next meeting so you can make those appointments.
Thank you. Item 10F, Vice Mayor Butler.
10F, Resolution 38-23, a resolution of the Board of Commissioners of the City of Fairview, Tennessee, authorizing the mayor to execute the site development agreement contract for Orange Shire subdivision. City Engineer Sarah Toddy.
Resolution 3823, Orange Shire subdivision is located on Northwest Highway near the Belvoir development that's being built right now. This development was approved by PC last year, has completed all of their conditions of approval, and have submitted their bonds to the city. This development agreement allows the developer to begin work and proceed with the grading permit. That's all I have.
Do you have a motion?
Move for approval.
Second. Any discussion?
Yes. So we have a subdivision already that they are working on that hasn't been completed. The roads haven't been paved, and there's not a fence around the sediment pond. And we're fixing to allow another development to start. And I mean, we need to finish what we start. We need to take care of the citizens and get what they deserve taken care of. Also, there's not a buffer around the whole development. Those are farms on all three sides, and farmers use pesticides. If someone jumps the fence, they have access. I mean, cows will charge you, bulls will charge you, a mom with a calf will charge you. So there needs to be some kind of buffer to prevent physical harm to anyone. And a farm is protected with the chemicals and stuff, so.
Does the farm not have a fence around it to keep the cows in?
Yes, the cows will stay in, but there's not anything keeping anyone out.
Mr. Carter, would it be a good legal practice to hold a developer or a builder hostage based on a subdivision they might currently be working in? I know we have developers in the city that have 2 or 3 going at a time, and I just don't think it's, that legally we could hold somebody up just because they didn't finish another project that might take 10 years to build out.
Well, I assume on another project, Ms. Toddy can answer it. I assume we're holding maintenance bonds or performance bonds, that if they don't complete the paving, then we could take those bonds.
I'm assuming they're talking about Pinnock Place, final topping, and yes, we do have a bond on that. They did renew their bonds as they're trying to pave that subdivision and another subdivision at the same time.
I think
So
it's
they're trying to mobilize one time.
It's a completely separate issue, and I don't think, and I heard what the resident said, but we have protections built in because we have bonds, and if they don't pave that like they're supposed to, then we can
We do
take
it
the
for them.
bonds, which is a real threat, because once the city takes the bonds of a developer, the developer's never going to get bonded again by anyone, so they typically will not, they'll go to great lengths to avoid
They
the
don't
city
want a
taking
bond
their
call.
bonds. And so I'm confident that will get done, or the city will force it to be done at some point in the future. So I don't think that subdivision has anything to do with this subdivision. As far as the fence, I think fences work both ways. It keeps the cows in and people out. As long as this subdivision, which has been approved, meets all the city's standards and regulations as far as setbacks and buffers, then I think we're kind of late to the party to be trying to change that now. And we'd be exposing the city, putting on more arbitrary and capricious regulations at this point. So I don't think that's proper.
Ms. Toddy, can you tell me when the bond expires, or how long the developer has from the last sale of the house to get the development completed?
Are you asking about Pinnock Place right now?
Yes. What's the expiration date to where the city takes over?
On the bond that we have, we hold it for a year, and they have to renew. The bond that we have, we just got it renewed, I think, 2 weeks ago.
So we
Prior
just
to its
keep renewing
expiration.
it if they
No.
choose to?
At a certain point, we can call a bond if we feel like they are not going to top the road, yes.
Do we
But
have-
we have been told multiple times that he's going to pave another subdivision and this subdivision at the same time to mobilize one time for his paving contractor to come out and do both.
So the city doesn't have a set limit, like 3 years, 4 years, or anything like that?
Not that I'm aware of.
Ms. Toddy, I'm not familiar with exactly what is and isn't there right now, but in Pinnock Place, are all the lots built out, or are there lots that are vacant that never, don't have a home on it yet?
They're all built out.
Okay. I do understand your concern, and just know that this will be taken care of. It sounds like that they are trying to do it at one time, pave two at one time. I understand them wanting to do that, but I understand your concern as well, and just know that we do have safeguards in place to take care of. The road will be paved.
There's also contrary pressure on the developer because these bonds cost money the longer they sit. And so typically they want to finish their work as soon as they can. Typically, when they finish the work and they get ready for final paving, they notify the city. The city goes and inspects the road to make sure that it drains correctly, that the water flows correctly, that the sewer's been installed correctly, that the pavement is solid and isn't going to crack and is going to last the period of time it's supposed to last. And then we give the permission to go ahead and pave it. It sounds like that may have been done.
Yep, my inspection has been done.
And so
I've
it's
met with
ready
the
to be
paving
paved.
contractor.
And it
That's-
sounds,
They're moving forward.
it sounds like the developer is at least giving staff reason to believe that they're moving forward. Therefore, that sounds like that's why the bonds were renewed 2 weeks ago. So it may be a good idea to ask Ms. Toddy or Mr. Doherty to contact them and find out what their timeline is for paving. If what they're hoping to, if they're end of summer or this fall or this month, I don't know, but I'm sure the developer can give us a timeline when they expect that to be done, and that may help the citizen that spoke for his subdivision.
Typically, when I do a pre-topping walkthrough, they pave within a month or two.
And when did you do your pre-topping walkthrough in this one?
Recently, probably 2 weeks ago.
Could you find out that information and send a letter to the citizen that spoke?
Yes, sir. Sir, if you'll, I believe we have your address.
have his
I'll get you a
name.
letter. Thank you.
Any other discussion? Ms. Jones?
Commissioner Johnson? Aye. Mayor Anderson?
Aye.
Commissioner Hall?
Aye.
Commissioner Street?
Nay.
Vice Mayor Butler?
Aye.
Item passes 4-0. Sorry. 4-1. Item number 11, communication from mayor and commissioners. Commissioner Hall?
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Board of Commissioners. I want to thank you all for working through the budget process with the city. I want to thank the Police Department, the Fire Department, Public Works, the Park Department, Administration, and hopefully I didn't miss anybody for all the hard work y'all do for this city. And y'all got your budget and go forward. Thank you.
Commissioner Johnson?
Thank you, Mayor. Dr. Rice, I'd like to thank you for everything that you have done for an awfully long time. It really means a lot, and a lot of people look up to you that you don't know, but there are kids throughout this community that remember you, and for very good reasons. Thank you very much.
Commissioner Fisher-Street?
I just want to say that the ones that chuckled about the farm buffer and the fences is there are people who do trespass on farms, and if they get hurt, you know, the city is risking our own people getting hurt because some people don't think and do things that they're not supposed to. I want to thank, you know, everyone who's here. You know, you got to voice your opinion. You've got to be heard if you want us to work for you, and we just need to know what you want. Thank you.
Vice Mayor Butler?
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you to the Boys and Girls Club for being here tonight. Congratulations to my middle school teacher, Dr. Rice. And thank you to Ms. Toddy. This is going to be the last meeting that we have here with us. So we just did this 2 nights ago, but thank you for all your service and everything you've given us. That's it, Mayor.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone, for coming tonight. It was a great pleasure and my honor to present the key to the city to Dr. Neil Rice for everything he has done for this community. I've had the pleasure of knowing him for 15, 18 years, and it's been awesome working alongside him. He's very knowledgeable, very funny. We've had lots of interesting times together restoring the school, and all of the clean out was very educating to find what was left behind by the Bowie sisters. Also, congratulations to the Boys and Girls Club. There's a lot of children who need a place to feel like they're a part of, and I know that you and your staff give them guidance and good instruction for their future, and we appreciate that. I'm excited about our budget, especially for the police and fire. We gave a pretty good increase, but it's well-deserved. I've had the pleasure of meeting a lot of our new young officers, and I know a lot of the senior officers. We don't compare with other cities, and I'm just hoping that our new budget will help us to retain the officers that we train, and as well as fire. We put a lot of training dollars into these officers. We want them to call Fairview home, and we want to be able to keep them here by paying them what they're deserved and compete with other communities. And I appreciate all of your effort in just protecting our community. Ms. Toddy, I've had the pleasure of working with you for, 2-3 years now, and I'm really sorry to see you move on. You've meant a lot to our code staff as our engineer, and I just pray a blessed future for you. I would like to read something. It has come to the board's attention that Commissioner Street, representing the city of Fairview while at her place of employment, left a voicemail for Sean Henry, the attorney for Bellhaven. In the interest of integrity and transparency to the community she serves and the Board of Commissioners, we respectfully ask that she disclose what that conversation was about.
The conversation was I was looking for an attorney that I was told is really good. I was looking for my own personal representative, and I have a right to do that. And I was trying to get a hold of the person who I thought was best for me. And I contacted the wrong person first, but I just said, I need to talk to you, please call me.
Mr. Carter, could you address this issue, please?
So the voicemail was sent to all of you, and it said what it said, and I'm not going to try to rehash it, but I think it's clear that Ms. Street was trying to contact Mr. Pape's attorney and not Mr. Henry, so it was a mistaken voicemail, and the language used was that she wanted to communicate some information that she had about Bellhaven, which doesn't sound like it was personal to Ms. Street.
I beg
It's
to.
It's not my job to judge that. That's why I forwarded the information I had to all of you, so it was transparent. I don't know what the information was. I don't know, so it's, it's out of my hands, and it's in the board's hands. And so I think the board has a right to ask what that information was or what that attempted communication was. If it was information that a commissioner gained in their capacity as a commissioner. It's not any one of your rights to waive any privileges that attach to it. But again, I don't know what the information is, so I don't know if it's problematic or not. And again, this board probably has the right to ask questions about it. I don't really have anything else to add to that. I forwarded on what I received.
There's nothing saying anything about Bellhaven. The board has driven me to contact someone to be my own personal representative by their actions. I'm protecting myself so I can protect the people, and it has nothing to do with Bellhaven. I am my own separate person. But I wanted someone who knows what they're doing.
In the voicemail, did you not say that you were a commissioner for the city of Fairview and not just Leslie Street?
Correct, because I am the commissioner and I need help.
So what you're saying is you're not going to disclose for transparency for our community or the BOC what you were going to speak as a commissioner to this attorney about?
I don't think you want me to discuss that.
I'd
And
be
I
more
will
than
not
happy for you
discuss
to-
it without
I'd be
a.
more- that's what I'm asking.
You're not supposed to interrupt me.
Excuse me?
I will, that's what you all said in the very beginning. We do not interrupt each other. But I will not discuss anything without without my legal representative here with me.
Mr. Carter, how does that work moving forward?
I'm not sure. Commissioner Street, as a private citizen, of course, has a right to consult with an attorney, just like the rest of you do. To the extent that it's city business, I'm paid by the city to be the city attorney, so I would normally expect city business to come through me, otherwise you're wasting your money and time. If Ms. Street has questions that are personal in nature, she has every right to seek an attorney. I would caution Commissioner Street and all of you to be careful doing business with attorneys that have matters before us that are highly contested, such as Bellhaven. I do not think it's a good idea to mix business. You know how I feel about Bellhaven and what my recommendation was, and I stand by that recommendation. The developer will be back in some form or fashion with regards to Bellhaven, and this board will need to consider it again. So I would caution each of you to not mix your personal business or board business with either Mr. Henry or Mr. Pape's attorney, who's Mr. Hollingsworth, or it's a name. I'm sorry. You've put me on the spot, so I'm not recalling the name. But generally, I think that's just a bad idea. Unfortunately, the city's supposed to operate transparently. The commissioners are supposed to operate transparently. That's what they are elected to do. Contacting attorneys that have matters before us that are contested generally is not a good idea. I received that email from the attorney that represents Bellhaven, highly upset and suspect that Commissioner Street is sharing information that she would have gained as a commissioner with Mr. Pape's attorney, and it's no secret that Mr. Pape was not for that subdivision. And if that was the case, it was an improper call. I hear Commissioner Street saying that was not the purpose. I don't know. I don't know one way or another why the call was made. You know what I know at this point.
So are you saying if she has an issue with the Board of Commissioners that she should reach out to you as the city's attorney?
So I'm the city's ethics officer under our commission, so if she believes there's been an ethics violation, then she should file a report to me. I would likely have a conflict from investigating that report. I would then tell the city that we need to hire a separate attorney to come in and do an investigation. But Ms. Street, if she has wants private consult, she's entitled to have private consult, just like the rest of you are.
Just not
But what I
with,
would say is it's a bad practice.
just not with attorneys that are involved in subdivisions that are being,
Because it's highly suspicious, and when I was hired, I believe all of you, and Ms. Street especially, told me that one thing they really want to see was the city not being sued as often as it has in the past. But this is exactly the type of behavior that results in suspicion that creates legal exposure for the city. I think that's very safe to say.
do you think this voicemail going to Sean Henry is detrimental to our city?
I would prefer that that didn't happen. Certainly.
And possibly could result in a lawsuit?
I'm not going to speculate, but when the city's taken action on a development, and it was as contested as it is between the developer and the citizens and the city, it certainly does not appear in the best interest of the city to make that kind of phone call.
I would like to let everyone remember that I've been against all the developments until we can get the city, stable and meet the needs of our current citizens. So I'm not singling out one development.
Well, part of the see, that type of statement, though, is problematic, and I've told this board that time and time again, that when the city has a development before it, especially when the property has been zoned and zoned, that we need to be deciding that development based on whether it meets the parameters of that zoning district and the city's codes, and especially the zoning code. And so making statements that I'm against all of this or for all of this problematic, because that's an arbitrary and capricious review and not a review based on the standards that this board is supposed to be reviewing those developments on. And I don't really know how many ways to say that. So, I mean, saying I'm for this before we've considered it or against this before we've considered it is language that exposes our city to litigation each and every time it happens.
So I'm not allowed to represent our people.
That's not at all what I said.
And I said until Fairview, we can't handle any more, but we keep getting it piled on us. So until we can take care of our own citizens, we don't need to bring more in.
Okay.
So, but this is a whole different discussion, and I would like to have a legal representative.
Thank you, everyone, for coming out. And as I always say, let's remember to keep Fairview beautiful and pick up trash and not throw it out. Y'all have a great week. Thank you.